Hi, Sam here. How are you all doing? Today I'm doing a video in regards to how we say along the OCD recovery journey how things are awful, how things are terrible, how things are catastrophic, how things are completely horrible. I can't stand this. I can't stand that. Okay, now what brought me to doing this video is I was thinking about my own personal journey and how that negative kind of thinking really doesn't help, and how I see it quite often, that you see, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. Why me? Why have I got OCD? Why can't I be OCD free? If only I didn't have OCD, etc., etc. All right, so I thought it's quite important to do a video on this, and how changing that mindset can benefit you in life and also your OCD recovery journey. Okay, so I must admit, along my personal journey, when I was quite new, into picking up the tools and doing all the exposures and reading all the books, I was a whinger, I was a moaner, and then I got to the point of realizing that that's just not benefiting me. Okay, it's easy to sit there and be negative and moan and say it's the worst thing in the world. Okay, so when I actually realized that, okay, let's actually put this energy, this negative energy of constantly feeling sorry for myself, constantly playing the victim, or why me, why have I got OCD? Let's actually put that energy into focusing on recovery and putting the work in, okay? Applying the tools, okay? So, that's me. I obviously no longer whine, moan, just sort of having the get on with it mindset. And before I delve into any deeper or go into any more detail, I'm not at all undermining the suffering of OCD. I know firsthand experience how tough it is. Of course, it's very tough. I'm fully aware of the challenges and difficulties of OCD, but I'm just highlighting in this video how saying how awful it is and constantly moaning isn't very beneficial at all towards the recovery journey. Okay, so first of all, we do not label things, we don't label things or things in life or OCD as bad, as the very bad things. We don't label it as awful, we don't label it as horrible, we don't label it as the end of the world, terrible. So that's the first thing that we don't do, okay? When we label it as awful, as completely terrible, what we are really saying is that it's so unusually catastrophically bad that it must not happen to me. Okay, changing the mindset to that then led me to stop labeling things like that. So let's say a thought at an unwanted time, me saying, oh, that's completely dreadful, I must not have had that, why have I had that, that's terrible, that's the worst thing in the world. Now that's catastrophizing. Okay, I struggle to say that word. That's exaggerating. That's over exaggerating it. Okay, it's inconvenient. It's not ideal. It's unfortunate. Of course, we don't want OCD. Of course, we don't want all these themes and morphing. Of course, we don't want that. But saying it's totally terrible is where we go wrong. Okay, I will go into some more detail of why we go wrong there. All right, when we come to dealing with it and facing these unfortunate things. Okay, saying is awful isn't really going to get you anywhere. Okay, so back to what we see as bad. Okay, so things in life, whether it be OCD or not, rightly so, are extremely bad, catastrophic, unusually bad, devastating. Let's give some examples. Okay, wars, natural disasters, somebody dying, somebody getting seriously injured, mass destruction. There are very bad things in life. Okay, those are bad things. All right, OCD suffering is bad. Okay, it's very difficult, very challenging, very tough. Okay, but it's not completely awful. It's not the end of the world. Okay, it's not the worst thing in the world altogether. Okay, so those are just examples of bad things. Obviously, there's other bad things and very challenging and devastating things in life. Okay, so where do we go wrong? So when we whine, when we moan about poor and difficult and challenging conditions in our life and of OCD suffering, like I said, we're saying that these absolutely must not exist. All right, that it must not happen to me. We are saying it's 100% totally, completely bad, disastrous, catastrophic, crippling, that you can't physically function, okay, when we label something as awful. Okay, bad as it can possibly be. Okay, that's not possible, all right, especially with OCD suffering. Okay, there could be a lot worse things than OCD. All right. So when we do exaggerate and when we do say things are awful and things are terrible, we don't help ourselves when we come to coping. So when we come to work on our OCD recovery journey, all right. So if we're having a really bad day, feeling like shit, and we're thinking, okay, I'm completely fed up with this now. I just want to get better, feel better. Just want to work on myself and not keep going into this OCD trap, OCD cycle. Okay, so but if we're telling ourselves it's awful, then we're making it so much difficult for us to actually start on recovery, or to keep working on recovery. If we're constantly moaning and constantly being negative, saying how bad it is. Okay, and other things in life as well. If we're saying it's terrible, so my Google just lit up. I feel like it's going to stop shouting in a minute. No, it's turned off now. So yeah, for other things in life, if we're saying it's just beyond bad, then we're not giving ourselves the best chance to dealing with these adversities, dealing with these unfortunate events in life. Because life is challenging, life is difficult. Okay, life isn't easy for anyone. Okay, there's always obstacles, there's always hurdles to overcome. All right, if we're going in with a positive mindset and not saying this is awful, we're giving ourselves the best chance. We're not giving ourselves a mountain to climb every challenge we face. And it all links into the OCD recovery journey. All right. So let's go on to saying I can't stand it. Okay, so when we say that we can't stand this, so let's say you can't stand putting in the work, or you can't stand the feeling of anxiety, you can't stand the feeling of chronic guilt, you can't stand panicking. Okay, now when you say you can't stand it, what you're really saying is, what you're really implying is that you die, that you spontaneously combust, that you evaporate into thin air, that you dissolve. Okay, that is what you imply when you're saying I can't stand this, with that mindset. Okay, and we also say it's impossible to be happy at all. So instead of saying I can't stand this, I can't stand that, we're changing it to, yes, it is very difficult. Yes, of course, it's not ideal. It is very, very, very challenging. Okay, having a panicking where if you're out, if you're at work, whatever, if you're panicking, yes, chronic guilt is a very uncomfortable sensation. I've experienced that firsthand. But if I'm saying I can't stand it, I'm giving myself 10 times harder chance, 100 times harder chance to get better. Because I'm cutting it off straight away. I can't stand that. That's it. No hope. Okay, just making myself feel completely hopeless, feeling stuck. All right, but then if I change that to, I really don't like this feeling of chronic guilt. I really don't like this feeling of chronic shame, anxiety, panic, all the other symptoms and sensations that you get. We don't like that, okay? Acceptance is an agreement. We're not liking it. We're accepting that it's there, and we're accepting that we can work on it. All right, we're not just writing it off from the start and saying, I can't stand this, it's totally awful. So elaborating on the point of, and when we say it's impossible to be happy, when we can't stand something, when you're suffering with chronic guilt, when you're suffering with all different sensations that come with OCD, when we're suffering with panic attacks, when we're feeling really anxious, derealization, depersonalization, all the symptoms that come with OCD. When we say we can't be happy because of that, well, changing the mindset so we can still find some kinds of happiness, some ways of happiness, even if it is very little. Okay, you can go and have a nice meal. Even if you're struggling to eat, you can have bits of it. If you go down to the extremes, you can go for a nice walk. You can watch a TV series, or watch a sport. Although you may be feeling really bad and really shit, there are some ways of finding happiness. There's some kinds of happiness out there. Okay, so by just saying I can't stand this, that makes me totally unhappy. It's not. You're exaggerating there. You're not being very rational there. All right, so there's always some ways to find happiness, even if it is very little. Okay, so in summary then, To summarise all that up. So if we stop moaning, if we stop whinging, stop whining, saying I can't stand this, stop awfulising, stop horribilising, stop catastrophising, you get the point I'm saying, okay? We will make our own, sorry, if we stop that, we will make our frustrations, such as OCD suffering, easier to deal with, okay? Gives us the best chance of dealing with it. Okay, and I'd just like to mention again that I'm not undermining the OCD. I'm not just saying, oh, it's fine, get on with it. Okay, I completely understand it is very, very challenging. Okay, on the very tough days when, for me, getting out of bed was the most difficult part of the day. Okay, let alone getting through it. Okay, so I appreciate and I understand it's very, very difficult. Okay, but just making these small changes in our thinking like this makes a world of difference. Okay. So we then, by doing this, if you're getting through those difficult days, if we're saying, okay, I really don't like this, but it's not awful. It's not. I can stand this. I can stand feeling the chronic guilt. I'm working on the feeling of chronic guilt. We're looking at my beliefs, but I can stand it in the meantime whilst it's still there. I can stand feeling anxious. I can stand panics. Okay, welcoming these sensations in, welcoming these uncomfortable feelings in, wearing them like an uncomfortable coat. We then increase our frustration tolerance to these things. Okay, and then that leads us to dealing with these problems, all parts of life and OCD, more effectively, and it's going to give you the best chance of recovery. Okay, if you like this video, please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, or if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And any comments of any future videos you'd like me to do, or the team, please leave a comment, and that'd be much appreciated. Anyway, take care. Bye bye.